Hi, I'm Mike Swain. This is Century's new Keme ball. Keme, which is the art of falling, is important for all martial arts. We're going to show you how to fall safely and have a lot of fun.
Hello, my name is Michael Bernardo, and welcome to my Dynamic Bow Basics tape. In this tape, I'm going to take you through step by step the blocks and strikes you'll need to build a solid foundation with your bow staff. So pick up your bow, let's get ready to train, and remember, the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. The forward strike. The forward strike is your most powerful bow strike. You start by dividing the bow into 3 equal distances. You point your left foot at your target, step through and strike. As you strike, your right wrist turns palms down, similar to throwing a karate punch. Your left hand ends up chambered on your belt. Start with the bow just above the right ear, holding the wrist palms down towards your shoulder. Step forward and make sure that you keep your left hand up until the foot hits the floor. Once the foot is down, bring your left hand back to chamber and extend the right hand out, rotating the forearm and wrist when making contact. As you strike, rotate the right shoulder forward, trying to maximize your potential distance. Remember, the bow is a weapon that is best utilized when hitting a target that is far away. So trying to maximize your distance, step long and rotate the right shoulder forward, similar to throwing a jab. Notice that the right hand, when extended out, ends up to the center of your chest or solar plex area. The path of the right forearm should start above the ear, rotate, and turn. It is very important to develop your strength and focus that you concentrate on your hands. We must practice without using the bow in order to develop our strength and our technique. As you see, it's very similar to your reverse punch. The only difference, instead of starting in chamber, you start above the ear. You develop power with the bow by developing power with your hands, your hips, and your arms. These are some common mistakes. First of all, dropping the left hand before your foot has reached its focus point. This way you end up jamming your own technique. So make sure you keep the left hand up and do not drop the left until your right foot is in position. Overextending the right arm. We do not need to make that circular movement with the right arm. Punch in a straight line from your ear to the target. Chambering on the shoulder. As you can see, the technique looks jammed because you start at your shoulder as opposed to starting above the ear. The correct way. Here I demonstrate not rotating the wrist properly. This is a big mistake because obviously when I'm striking I will not have focus and power at the end of the strike. And the correct way, always rotate the wrist and end palms down. And here the step is shallow. You want to make sure that you step long so that you're always trying to maximize your potential distance. So this is the forward strike. Remember, pay attention to the details and make this your strongest bow technique. Practical application. The same technique, stepping forward, punching towards the chest, but striking down on top of the head. Point and turn the wrist over and strike. As you see, you do not need to strike down with the hand. You also must make sure that you rotate the wrist. Here the bow escapes the hand because the forearm is not turning over on contact. When the wrist does turn over, the contact is solid and the bow is secure in the hand. It is very important that you understand the practical applications of your strikes, especially when teaching other students. The forward thrust. The forward thrust is when you drive the bow directly into your opponent. You start again by dividing the bow into 3 equal distances. Point your right foot, draw the bow back parallel to the ground, drive your hands forward, and rotate your right wrist. The bow ends up chambered underneath the left arm with your left hand across your chest. Your thrust should be parallel to the floor and should drive in a straight line. Without the bow, as we focus on our hands, make sure that you rotate your wrist and that both hands are driving forward at the same time. Working this way will also help you keep your shoulders relaxed. Now, some common mistakes. Not lifting the bow parallel to the floor when you wind up. We can see the path of the bow comes down as opposed to driving straight in. This strike is not very effective. When we go straight in, the technique is much harder to block and much more effective. Notice that the right wrist is palms down. That's full rotation with the bow. Here the bow is not being rotated. You will notice that the bow will tend to rise up this time, and you will not be able to hit your intended focus. Here the bow is locked over and controlled. This rotation is very important. This will give you the snap and power with your strike. Here the stance is shoulder width apart. Just like in the forward strike, I am not maximizing my potential distance. I must step longer, and my right shoulder must be ahead of my left. Keeping the shoulders relaxed is very important. If we tighten the shoulders, we lose our speed, and if we lose our speed, we lose our power. Practical application. As your opponent comes in, you draw the bow back and perform your forward thrust. Noticing as the right wrist turns over as you hit, that's what gives you your power and allows you to hit your focus. If you keep the left hand down, you notice how my opponent jams my strike because I did not draw the bow back parallel to the floor. When the bow comes back parallel, I'm able to hit my opponent as he rushes me, therefore able to perform an effective forward thrust. Reverse strike. The reverse strike is actually a block, trap, and strike. You start by lifting up the bow, performing a block over the head, rotating the hands, trapping, and striking. Block, twist, and strike. At all times, trying to keep the bow parallel to the floor. When you strike, you rotate the right wrist so that when you make contact, you'll be able to hold on to the bow. On the overhead, we notice the block, rotating the hands parallel and dropping them down to perform the strike. On the reverse strike, the shoulders are parallel to your opponent. Your left arm ends up across your chest. Without the bow, focusing on the hands, similar to performing a low block. Notice how the hands come down parallel to the floor or at the same time. Another useful training technique is to practice the reverse strike in a seated position. This way it forces you to lift both hands up at the same time in order to avoid hitting the floor with your bow. This will also help you practice keeping your shoulders relaxed. Common mistakes. Our first mistake is overextending through the focus. Here I'm not using my right arm at all, but just allowing the left to stop the bow against my side. Correctly done, the bow should stop on focus by tightening the right arm. Here I'm not lifting the bow up parallel to the floor, but instead just using the right hand to perform the reverse strike and not performing the block first. I will have speed with this technique, but it will be done incorrectly. I must lift the bow up over my head, lift, and twist. Practical application. We'll now demonstrate the three parts of the reverse strike. First part is the block, the trap, then the strike. As I twist the bow, I'm trapping his weapon underneath my left, striking with the right. This is why the bow must stay parallel to the floor in order to effectively trap the weapon with the left hand. Now we demonstrated earlier that we must rotate the wrist, and this is why. If we do not rotate the wrist, you risk losing your weapon on contact. Only when you rotate the right wrist do you lock your strike and make the weapon secure in your hand. This will also give you added power and added focus. The four strike. The four strike, as the name implies, is striking your imaginary target from four different directions. We will break down the four strike by examining the first two parts, striking up, then striking down. As we punch up with our left hand, it is important that we do not bring the bow down onto the collarbone, but instead outside of the shoulder. Notice that both hands go to the same spot, for we are hitting the same focus. When we finish the strike, the bow should be parallel after each technique. We always step first, then strike with the hands. Notice that the left hand slides up as you hit, so the bow is now in 3 equal distances. Strike up. Now we'll focus on what the hands are doing. Notice how each technique looks like a punch. We must always focus on our hands and not worry about where the bow is going. I punch up and punch out, both hands hitting the same focus. This is how you develop power with the bow. Here I demonstrate the wrong hand motion. I am just flipping my arms up and down. Now the bow will end up in the right spot, however you can see that there is no power. The second part of the 4 strike is the side-to-side strikes. I punch out with my left hand and then punch out with the right, both hands ending at the same focus. The bow is parallel to the floor as I perform the 2 punches, left, then right. Together, the 4 strikes, striking up, then down, then side to side, finishing with a forward thrust. All 4 techniques to the same spot. Trying to keep the bow parallel to the floor. And now focusing on the hands for the 4th strike. First the side to side. And this is done by just performing 2 straight punches to the center of your chest. And the incorrect way, I'm just flipping the bow side to side and not extending out my arms. Only by extending the arms do you develop power with each strike. The incorrect way, and the proper way. You should learn to watch your hands when you watch yourself doing the bow. Common mistakes. Our first mistake is not sliding the left hand up as we perform the first strike. As you can see, if I do not slide my hands up to divide the bow into 3 equal distances, I hit with just the stub end of the bow. Here I bring the left hand down onto the collarbone, which will allow the first strike to be too low. You can also damage your collarbone if you bring the bow down very hard. Here on the side-to-side strike, the bow is not parallel, plus I'm overextending through the focus. This will make the strike a lot slower, plus my shoulders will be too tight, and I will not have power with each of the 4 techniques. Remember, the hand that's extended out stops the bow, not your body. And here the hands are too close together. The bow can be manipulated quite quickly when your hands are close together, but there will be no power. Each time you must extend the arm out, as if throwing a punch. Practical application. Here we use a focus pad to demonstrate that the 4 strikes, all coming from different angles, end at the same spot. Striking up, down, side to side, and followed by a forward thrust. After the first strike, all 3 are parallel to the floor and to the same focus. Each time extending the arms out, just like a punch. Now to develop this, we practice without the bow, punching at the focus pad. And remember, the faster you move your hands, the faster you'll be able to manipulate the bow. Forward strike, 4 strike, thrust. Rotation block. Rotation block is a quick movement done with the right wrist and forearm. This technique is designed to deflect your opponent's strike to the side. I step out with the right foot, rotating the right arm to a 90-degree angle, twisting the right wrist and palm towards your right shoulder, keeping the left hand in chamber along the side. Without the bow, I'm taking the right hand palms down and twisting it towards my right shoulder. Common mistakes. With the rotation block, it's winding up with the right arm and then twisting. The wind up is not needed if you perform the block properly by rotating the right forearm. Because remember, you're deflecting the technique to the side. Practical application. With the rotation block, I stand in my fighting stance and quickly rotate my forearm and wrist, deflecting my opponent's weapon to the side, and then strike. Now if I wind up to perform the rotation block, my opponent will be able to attack me, for I am open. That is why it's important you practice with just rotating the right forearm and wrist, avoiding the wind up. Here I follow up the rotation block with a thrust, rotating the right wrist forward. The uppercut strike. The uppercut strike, you draw the bow down to the floor, striking up underneath the chin of your opponent. As I step back, I drop the bow straight down to the floor, then rotating the forearm and curling the wrist, I draw the bow up. Helping to drive the right hand up, I drive the left hand down to my belt into chamber. Traditionally, this move was also used to draw dirt or sand from the floor up into the opponent's eyes as a distraction. Always making sure to rotate the hips and to curl the forearm to maximize your potential power. Common mistakes. With the uppercut, the common mistake is not to rotate the right wrist and forearm. Only when you turn the wrist and forearm do you have the strength to actually make the strike effective. This rotation is the key to the technique. Low block, reverse thrust. This technique involves a step back block followed with reverse thrust. As we step back with the right foot, we block across with the left hand, drawing the bow up with the right and thrusting down. With this technique, there are two chambers, chambering outside of the left elbow, as shown here, on the outside of the elbow, then thrusting down, and chambering underneath the elbow, and thrusting down. Make sure when you step back that your feet are not in line, but they're shoulder width apart. And try to turn your hips over as you step back to block. Twist, lift, and strike. Without the bow, notice the emphasis on the hips as I move the right foot back, twisting, drawing up, and thrusting down. Now some common mistakes. Here the block is not done to the proper point. You must sweep right across, protecting the entire body. Our second mistake is changing the level of the strike after the block. When we block and we draw the bow back, we need full extension and thrust down. Trying to thrust to keep the bow on the same level as the drawback, not going lower or higher. This allows for a nice smooth block and strike. Forward thrust, outside chamber. As we showed with the last technique, you can chamber on the outside of your left forearm or elbow. I am now demonstrating the forward thrust with the outside chamber. Notice that you must manipulate the left wrist in order to keep the bow on the outside of your left forearm. The bow still moves parallel to the floor with a full wind-up, rotating the right wrist and forearm on contact. Always trying to keep the shoulders relaxed and parallel to the floor. The advantage to this chamber is your ability to strike side to side without lifting the left elbow. When the bow is underneath the arm, you must first lift the elbow, then strike, which of course telegraphs the technique to your opponent. Sliding poke. With this technique, your opponent will not be able to judge the distance that you are able to reach with your strike. You draw the left hand down through the right hand, then extend the left hand up to make a thrusting motion. It is important to keep the right hand relaxed as the bow will slide through the right hand. Your left hand does the work by dropping back and coming up to a thrusting position, then back down. Common mistakes. If you keep the right hand palms up, since the bow is rising up, there's a tendency for the bow to escape the hand. Keep the right wrist and palm towards the floor. This way you can keep control of the bow at all times. Here I'm bringing the left hand towards the right as opposed to bringing the left hand up to the proper thrusting position. Side to side block. With this technique, we're blocking a strike on the left side of your body, then the right, and here followed up with a forward strike. Try to keep the bow perpendicular to the ceiling with your left hand directly above your right, blocking the left hand side, then the right hand side. Notice I open the fingers to provide as much blocking space on the bow as possible. Making sure to cross the body on each side in order to protect yourself from being hit. Without the bow, we stress using the hands and rotating the hips in order to block the body successfully. And before the forward strike, making sure to extend the left hand out, then hit with the right. Common mistakes. Here I'm not bringing the bow far enough across on the right hand side in order to block the right hand side of my body. I must finish the block and bring the bow completely over to the right hand side. Figure 8, turn and strike. The figure 8 turn and strike is actually a one-handed figure 8, spinning around to your left and doing a forward strike with the right hand. Starting slow, we begin with a two-handed figure 8. The figure 8 is done by rotating the right wrist over top of the left, then kicking out with the left hand. Here I go to a one-handed figure 8 with the right foot forward. As the bow drops in front of my stomach, I turn into a right-handed strike. The two-handed figure 8. To the one-handed figure 8 with the right foot forward. As the bow drops in front of me, I rotate on my right foot, grab the bow, and strike with the right hand. Always start with your right foot forward, rotate, and strike. To build up speed with your figure 8, you must be able to relax your grip with your hands. With the one-handed figure 8, you must rotate your forearm and turn the wrist over. With the overhead view, we will see how as we start the figure 8, we're rotating the forearm, and as we turn, we rotate on the ball of the right foot. Here demonstrating with just using the right hand only. If we maintain turning the forearm, the bow will end up in the proper position without the use of the left hand. Once we have done this, we realize in order to get power, we'll catch the bow with the left hand and bring it down for the forward strike. To catch the bow, we bring our left hand close to our right, grab the bow, and allow the left hand to slide down the bow to chamber. Common mistakes. The common mistake with the figure eight turn is to end in improper stance. It is very important to realize, especially on spinning moves, that we end with a strong, basic strike, which means proper chamber and proper focus with your knees bent. No matter how fast your spin is, if your technique or strike afterwards is weak, then the combination is weak. Reverse figure eight, upcut. As the name implies, the reverse figure eight is the opposite motion of the forward figure eight. By taking your right hand, drawing it back to your left shoulder, sweeping down, punching out your left hand, then performing the uppercut strike with the right hand. Cross, drop, and strike. Cross, drop, and strike. When we do this move quickly, we must start the hands first, then step back just prior to the uppercut. So the hands start moving, then the foot. Without using the bow, we emphasize the hips. As we step back, we twist on the uppercut. From the hips, we get the power behind the technique. Common mistakes. Here I'm not turning my hips over as I do the strike. Only by turning the hips will the strike look powerful. Making sure to rotate the forearm as we twist the hips. Thank you for joining me on this tape. I look forward to working with you on further tapes on advancing your bow techniques. Keep working hard, and remember, success is a journey, not a destination.